Let's talk about the different versions of a dance track since I bring up the word extended and mix show. And I know there are going to be people asking me what a mix show is, what an extended is, what's the difference. So starting with the radio edit, a radio edit is, as it implies, a version that is made specifically for radio and specifically for casual audiences. Normally, these casual audiences would be on streaming services like Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, etc. And radio edits tend to be 2 to 5 minutes. Maybe a little longer than 5, but it won't be very long in general. So that's a radio edit. The extendeds, usually the way I make extendeds is that I take the radio edit and then add 8 bars tacked on to the beginning and the end. So that's what an extended is. Now for the mix show is a word that goes back to the late 90s and early 2000s when you had mix shows on the radio, say your KTU, your KISS 108, all that, right? What the mix show usually does is it adds a long enough intro that DJs can mix in and out of the song, but it's also long enough, like 16 bars, to the point where it can mix with any other house track. Usually house tracks have intros that are at least 16 bars long. Usually when you have a radio mix show, then it gives enough time for someone to say, hey, I am live at so-and-so club, right? And there's enough time to really say all that you need to say before this track begins. Now, the mix show tends to be 4 to 7 minutes long. It's long enough that you can mix between songs, but not too long that it drags on. You're still going to have drums in the intro and the outro, but it doesn't drag. So that's what a mix show is. And then the club is longer than the mix show and adds extra flair, right? Now that extra flair kind of feeds into a plot line. Usually when you talk about stories, you have your intro, you have your rising action, you have your climax, then you have your falling action and denouement or outro, right? So in a club mix, there's extra flair, there are extra snare rolls, there's extra breakdowns, and it's just the mix show taken to the next level. Traditionally, if you were in the early 2000s, the late 90s, early 2000s, the club version would be the first version getting made. And so that version is the longest version. It can be anywhere from 6 or 7 minutes all the way up to 10 plus minutes. And that gives enough time to do all parts of the plot line. It gives enough time to do your intro, rising action, climax, falling action, and outro. These are the different versions that you'll encounter on a lot of the promos that I send out, and pretty much all of Dirty Water mashups.